This is my first Reddit post. I hope you enjoy it. Back in the 80s, I worked for a custom printed circuit board shop that specialized in 24 or 48-hour deadlines to ship if you paid heavily for it. Boards with circuits on both sides were the cheapest and easiest to get done on time. We made boards up to 17 layers, and each layer you added increased the chances of something going wrong with the board. The boards would shrink slightly, drilling holes would be misaligned, circuit traces would have flaws on them, solder points wouldn't print in the exact spot needed, and other issues. I worked at the first stage of manufacturing, just after the engineers who got the artwork for the job and decided on the materials to be used and the specs of the board. I would drill the holes in a test panel, then have an inspector examine the holes to make sure they were all drilled in the right place and with the right size drill bit. On a multi-layer board, this could take a couple hours to get right. Then we'd send the job to be manufactured. Frequently, we'd have jobs sent back for defects. We'd adjust the artwork or where the holes drilled to correct for the material shrinking or warping and send the job through again. The most expensive job I worked on was for about $850,000 for a 17-layer board. They wanted all the circuits were gold-plated, and they needed it in 2 days. After I had been there 5 months, I wrote a program in Quick Basic on my own time that would take our reject rate at first certification from 80% down to 5% after inputting the dimensions and specs of the board. This saved us from 2 to 8 hours per job. After tweaking it for a couple more months, I reduced the reject rate from warping down from 45% to 3% on most jobs. This made a huge impact on the company in terms of delivery and profit. When my boss told the head of IT what I had written, he asked to get a copy and see how well it worked. What I didn't know was that he would use a HEX code editor on my compiled program to change my name to display his when the program started. He went to the company's owner and showed off what he wrote and got a huge raise, a very generous bonus and promotion. I got quietly told to shut up. I'd be rewarded too. My reward wasn't more money. It was that I got to come in and leave an hour early on second shift. Since it was my word against his, and my boss didn't have the clout to back me up, I left the company. Now on to the revenge. I wrote the program so that every year, on the page where it would ask for the job ID number, a message would appear at the bottom stating, "We request that you wish the author of this program a most happy birthday." If they typed in "happy birthday," the program would continue for another year. If they didn't, it would remove my name from a text file on the company share listing everyone's birthday. The program would check for my name every time it ran, and if it went missing, it would report an error message I made up that sounded bad. Binary coding stack overflow error, input invalid. The day after my birthday, my old boss called me to see if I had a copy still because his stopped working. The entire system was shut down while people tried to remember how to set up a job manually. All contracts they had for quick turnaround were late that month, and the sales department had to stop taking new quick orders. The owner demanded the head of IT fix it and get them back up and running. He finally had to admit that he didn't write it and had no idea how to program. He was fired on the spot. They lost so much money in the next couple months that the owner had to sell the company. Most of the employees transitioned to the new company with a little lower pay, but with less stress and better benefits. The former head of IT ended up starting his own company, tutoring math to grade schoolers. TLDR. Head of IT claimed to write a program I created, so when it stopped working, he got fired and the company folded. Comment. So this is the first pro-revenge I have commented on, and seriously excellent foresight on your side. I also have to give an immense amount of respect for your crafty way of poisoning the code. My struggle, though, is whether or not the revenge was misdirected. The IT guy was the jerk that should be beaten down, but this impacted an entire company. Was your company bad and perhaps I missed that part? Could you have potentially leveraged this into a consulting role to resolve the issue each year? Everyone would know the truth about the IT guy at that point, but to sink an entire org over him seems a bit unnecessary. As I said, supreme respect for creating and coding it all to do what it did. Comment. Apart from the good story, I think that's a really interesting job. I had no idea they already did 17 layers PCBs in the 80s. I guess that belief came from my teacher in college telling us about the Army only wanting through-hole components, and I think it'd be difficult to route multiple layers with big holes in the way. Did you do buried vias as well? Have you kept working in this line of work? What do you think of PCB manufacturing then versus now? Please leave your story in the comments. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to get new update. Thank you.